So for these problems number 24, you're asked to describe the relationship between the graphs of f and g. Consider amplitude, period, and shifts. So when it tells you to consider these, you need to explain the differences of the amplitude, period, and shift depending on the function. Okay, now look at this right here. It looks like, let me blow this up just a little bit more. It looks like for this function, the f function is the bigger one, and the g function is the scrunched one. Okay, one is stretched out more horizontally, and one is compressed horizontally. The g is compressed horizontally. So, in talking about amplitude, is there any difference between these two lines? No. Absolutely not. They both go to a max of 1 and a minimum of -1. Okay, so amplitude's the same. What about period? Period is the same. Is it? No. Let me see. My f function goes like this, and it looks like it stops right there. What do you suppose that x value is? If this right here is pi, what do you suppose this is? That's 2 pi. So it looks like the g function, which is my red one right here, has a regular period of 2 pi. So let's say f has period equaling 2 pi. Now what about the g function? Now if I highlight one period for that one, I stop right there. Where does it look like I stop? Right here. What does that look like? That doesn't look like perfectly 1/2. What does that look like? That almost looks like 2 pi over 3, and we can tell because if I divide this section up into 3s, that looks like the second third, right? So it looks like a 2 pi over 3. So it looks like my period for g is 2 pi over 3. So g has a smaller period. What about shifting? Are there any shifts on this one? No vertical shifts. They both have the same midline, okay? And it looks like they both start at the max. If they're both starting at the max, what could you say these lines are functions of? Yeah, you could say that these are both cosine functions because cosine functions start at the max. Now, they could be sine functions, and then they would be horizontally shifted. But let's just stick with cosine, because then we don't have to talk about a horizontal shift. Well, actually, the horizontal shift would be the same for both of them. But anyways, I think you get the point. Now, the answers in the back of the book say that the period of g is 1/3 of f. That's because if you go 2 pi over 3, and you put that over 2 pi. So these are both the periods. I'm comparing them. I could multiply the top and the bottom by 3 so I don't have a fraction in there anymore. If I multiply a fraction by its denominator, it'll eliminate the denominator. And if I multiply the bottom by 3, that would be 6 pi. So I get 6 pi on the bottom, and I have 2 pi up top. And what does that simplify to? 1/3. So in comparing the two periods, yes, g is 1/3 of f.